Hello and welcome to Curious Conversations. We are your hosts, Carly and Mandy, and today we are coming to you with an episode that we've been talking about, Land to Sea. So this is all about some nautical life.
Yeah, and we've been sharing videos and posts, tagged Land to Sea to include everyone in this very curious new adventure that you've been on for how long now?
Oh gosh, so we've actually been traveling on the water for about a week, I'd say. We've been living on the boat for a few weeks. Just in a marina, getting ready for the trip, getting ready for the journey. But we bought the boat a few months ago.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I've kind of held off on some things because we talk and everything, but I wanted to kind of just pour some stuff into this episode. So I've been kind of waiting to learn some more things. Now, okay, this is a little bit different for us because we like all the things curious, weird, and I don't know that this fits curious so much without people knowing like your full story. But anytime you buy a boat and take off to sea and this is your new life, I mean, I think that's a little curious.
It's definitely, it definitely fits in the weird category, but
Uh-huh.
let's call it curious.
Yeah. Okay. Have you seen anything curious out there, like beyond the complete flip in a lifestyle?
Yeah, it's been everything from just meeting really awesome people that have strange stories and you're trying to figure out their whole life, in the
Okay.
few sentences you get from them. But if we're just talking literal, curious, weird, I saw something yesterday that I just thought was the coolest. I had to take a picture, and I guess it's the captain of this ship was standing outside watching me take a picture of him. But we are completely surrounded by water. We're, driving and going forward, and um, there's a U-Haul.
The whole
What
U-Haul
in
truck.
in the water?
It was not in the water. It was on a
It's on a barge.
barge. Yeah.
Oh, just like by
But it
itself, not the big one with the collective vehicles, but just the one.
It was
just one.
it was kind of like a ferry, but it only fit one U-Haul truck on it.
Did it look like it just drifted away? Like it just drifted off?
It was the strangest thing. I was like, oh, it's a U-Haul. Someone's moving. I don't know.
Oh my gosh. Well, I've been here on land, North Georgia, and we've had some snow. We've shared some of the differences in our scenery, but so I came nautical for you guys today. I don't know if you can here, let me show you. Can you see my ring at all? I don't know if you can see it, but I'll tell you what it is. It's like it's a boat and it doesn't show up good here, but I've got a whole
Oh,
little ship, a little vintage ship, and I've got my little anchor earrings, and I've
look
got
at
this guy.
you.
Look at my friend.
Can you put that on your shoulder? We're talking.
Love
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Look at that. It's just going to stay there very naturally. It's actually on a large base and it does talk, but so we're not going to give him much time today. We're gonna talk, but I had to bring little parrot in for fun. I wish I had like a little perch though. Wouldn't that have been good if I would
That's
have
awesome.
prepared?
I got a nautical ring on too. Does that count?
Yeah,
I've,
absolutely.
I have nothing
Power.
on.
Okay, yeah, we need pictures of our rings because I can't see yours any better than you can see mine, but I know it's amazing. So we need like a ooh, like that. Something
I
like
love
that.
it.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, so I'm chatting with you and your guy today about this new adventure. So welcome to the show, Shane.
Thank you, Mandy.
I know you're like popping in and it's like, who is this guy? Okay. So I feel like we have a lot to talk about and we're catching up personally. So, like, what are you guys doing right now? Literally, I'm living vicariously through you. I'm just sitting inside, but I'm seeing your background. So, talk to
We
me.
do have a beautiful background. We are,
Coffee.
yeah, and coffee.
And coffee.
We're anchored. So, on a boat, you can, we stay in marinas where you're by a dock and you can step off the boat onto the dock. And then there's being anchored out. Am I saying that right?
Yeah.
Yep. I'm learning. being anchored out, which literally you've got an anchor down, and so you're just surrounded by water and beautiful scenery, and you kind of float around.
Yeah, we've got islands all around us. We're just inside the Gulf of Mexico and the Intercoastal Waterway, just a little south of Englewood, Florida, which is just south of Tampa. And yeah, it's pretty nice. There's a couple other boats around us, but it's peaceful.
Oh my gosh. Well, it sounds great.
And
So
dolphins, lots of dolphins.
Lots of dolphins.
oh yeah, so you shared that and I was like, "Oh, this is so we have the deer and you guys have the dolphins and this is
Yeah.
just so this is different for me. I know people are like, well, yeah, that's how it works, maybe. But I mean, it's just a different lifestyle for me. I've never even been during like the cold season, during winter. I've never been to the beach, to the water. I know you guys, having lived in Florida before, it's probably not that surprising weather-wise, but like what is the weather right now?
It is
Oh,
58 degrees. Not
58.
Yeah, and like 5 to 10 mile an hour winds. So a little overcast today.
it's
Well,
chilly.
chilly.
But I mean, just day before yesterday, it was in the 70s, higher 70s. So it just kind of bounces around,
Yeah.
which I'm okay with.
When we came to the interior of Florida, it was like 81 degrees, no real wind moving.
Wow. So I left out this morning at I don't know, about 8 o'clock and it was 25.
Oh,
And I'm not digging that so much.
and you guys are waiting for more snow, I hear. So,
Yeah, that's like it's that so do you know that old thing? Like if the snow lays on the ground for 3 days, do you know this stuff? We still have some snow in our backyard, but it's like, minuscule amounts.
3 days or more, expect more.
Yeah, expect more, but doesn't that just mean that there was some shade and some cold? Is that the groundhog mess? I don't know.
That's right. Uh, but yeah, but that's what we're doing literally right now. But overall, we're doing part of the Great Loop, and this is something that this is new. I didn't really know anything about the Great Loop or
Mm.
that people could go from ocean to river. I didn't know you could cross between the two. So I'm learning a whole lot. But the portion of the Great Loop that we're doing, I'll let you talk about because I don't know.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
I'd never even
there's
heard that. I didn't know that Great Loop. I didn't know what that was.
there's
Yeah.
various different routes you can take, but the overall loop goes all the way up the east coast of the United States, in through New York, up through Canada, winds all through the Great Lakes and everything, and comes back down through Mississippi and everything out into the Gulf of Mexico. And then you can go all the way down and around the Keys, or you can cut through the canals through Lake Okeechobee back over to the east coast of Florida. So we're actually doing a portion of it in reverse. So we went from the
Okay.
east coast through Lake Okeechobee to the Gulf, and then we've got to we'll go back up through Mobile Bay and Alabama, Mississippi, Chattanooga. The the harrowing part of it is we're looking at probably a 6 to 7 day wait right now because we need a clear weather day to cross the Gulf. It's literally 18 to 20 hours of straight driving. You can't stop, you can't drop an anchor, the water's too deep. So we have to have clear weather for that, or we could be looking at 6 to 7 foot seas, and we don't want to do all that. So
Oh my gosh. So I've not had any of this kind of experience. Like I've been on boats on a lake and I've been like the touristy boat out in the Gulf area and it was kind of fun, but then one time I did it and got kind of sick. We had some rough waters come in, like what do they call it? Cross wave, cross water. I don't know, something that was no good and it was just like being shook up in a can or something and I got kind of green.
Oh,
You have any of that? You have any kind of motion sickness, boat sickness?
this is weird, but we've been on the boat for a while now, and we've been
Hmm.
on and off of the boat, and I've been just fine. Have a lot of sickness on the boat. But I went to Publix yesterday and I had to leave the building rather quickly because I felt sick being on land. It was
Oh
weird.
gosh.
You get used
Yeah,
to
are you
everything
mixing?
moving and you can see everything, and then you get in a closed environment that's not moving, and it's like being seasick, but you're land sick.
Yeah, that's no good. It's any of the six no good, but that's like an adjustment, right? That's like getting your sea legs kind of thing.
Yeah, it was almost like, I'm just so used to the boat at this point that now I've got land leg issues. I don't know, but I mean, it's literally where we're sitting right now is the wheelhouse. So underneath us is the actual house portion of the boat with the living room, kitchen, bedrooms, bathrooms, and it looks just like this with the windows all the way around. So I think I was just so used to being able to look out and see things and being in a store with unnatural lighting. I had to leave it. It made me really sick.
Yeah, I know this is very different for you, Carly, but Shane, this isn't your first experience like living on a boat, right?
Very different experience, but definitely not my first. So
Okay.
kind of covered that a little bit previously, but growing up on boats and everything, which I spent most of my time on a boat as a kid at anchor like this. So it's brings back a little bit of memories, only in a much nicer state.
Yeah, because we all, well, you guys talked before about that, and I shared in that previous episode, and it was sort of like I saw that as kind of reflective and thought provoking, and we kind of wanted to know some more of the, I guess, what's going on with you guys today versus that time period in your life. I mean, when you say it's different, what would you say is the most obvious difference?
Um, the nice, the being on a nice boat would be the
Okay.
first most obvious. I mean, this boat's got plumbing and HVAC and electricity and everything. It's just like being in a house. You have everything you need. We have Starlink for internet, so it's all the comforts of home just on the water. Versus how I lived as a kid, we didn't have plumbing or electricity or anything. It was basically just a floating hull with some beds in it. So that actually tripped me up a little while, because there was that little voice in my head of, "Hey, what are you doing with your family?"
Mm.
So it took a minute to kind of settle into it and go, no, it's not. It's nowhere near the same thing at all. So it felt a little irresponsible just because of previous experience. So it took a while to kind of settle in and realize this is a much different experience.
Yeah, so I could see that like you've been there before and you're like, "Oh my gosh, am I winding up like right back where I came from?" But do you think in a good way, like something on a positive note, that you were drawn back to this because of that first experience, even if it was negative in some ways? I know there were some positive takeaways.
Yeah, absolutely. I wouldn't trade my upbringing for anything because I learned so much
Yeah.
from it. But it instilled that desire for travel and just a different type of lifestyle and everything. So
Hmm.
I'm really excited to share that now with Carly and our girls, only with all the functions of normal life and not being borderline homeless. So this is a nice experience.
Yeah, that's like a success story to me. I mean, that's really cool. To be able to pull something from your past, from your childhood, and make it better. I mean, I think that's a goal of everybody. I think a lot of people wouldn't necessarily want to change the past. They wished it could have been different or better, but I know hardships I've had to just kind of scrape that away. I'm not quite sure where I would be then had I not had those
I
moments
think
and
there's good
experiences.
in every struggle. So
Yeah, yeah.
I will add the one thing that I think is really cool is
Mhm.
Shane's dad died on his 18th birthday. Um, but he always wanted to do the Great Loop. And we're doing a portion of it, and so it was just really important to try to honor him in some way. So we do have a picture of his dad that sits at the helm, and so as Shane is driving, he's got his dad right there, and it just
Oh,
feels
that's
like
cool.
it's honoring and just lifting him up in some way.
yeah, we actually passed right by the hospital that he passed away in on our trip.
Oh,
So
wow. Are you keeping like a journal or something? This seems like something you might do, or jotting down some thoughts.
I tend to jot down thoughts in my phone often.
Mhm.
I haven't yet on this trip, but it's been a lot of making sure everything is what it's supposed to be at this point. I mean, I've got my entire family's life in my hands, and I want to make sure they're comfortable, or most of my family's life in my hands. And I want to make sure they're comfortable and they're enjoying their experience. So just for me right now, it's been a lot of making sure the boat is functioning and secure and everything's working like it should. And I'm knowledgeable about what I need to be doing. So I'm reading and studying things and stuff like that. So I haven't had a lot of time yet to sit and reflect, but we've only been actually traveling for 6 days now. So yeah, that time will definitely come.
Yeah, I would think so. Yeah, that's a lot. No pressure, right?
Yeah, none at all. Just
Oh my gosh. And so when you guys came to me and said, "Hey, we're going away for like a month." I was like, "Ugh." But it feels like it's stretching. Was that planned? Because now it feels like it's getting longer.
Yeah, a little bit. We came down. The plan was to travel the month of January,
Mhm.
and then, be back in Chattanooga. We flip houses, and so we've got a house that's going on the market next week.
oh,
Hoping that sells very quickly, and we'll be starting a new one. And so it was like, well, we need to get back, get our girls back. We've got older kids at home, back home that we need to get back to. And so we wanted to travel. We wanted to take our time. We did get kind of hung up in our original marina, just waiting on some things. We wanted to make sure everything was working and functioning properly. And so we were having everything checked and waiting on some repairs and things. And it just really pushed us back. And so we are off track a little bit. And then, I mean, you're just at the mercy of weather, and that's been
Yeah.
the hardest thing is you have to sit and wait for a good weather window.
yeah, like that's kind of what we're doing right now. Like I said, we've got to sit for 6 to 7 days waiting before we can do our crossing. And then there's that nice relaxed Florida mentality where everybody kind of takes their time. Well, that
Mm.
can be a little bit of a problem when you're waiting on service technicians and stuff and everybody's taking their time. So, yeah, it's put us
Yeah.
behind schedule a little bit, but you'll hear people talk about it all the time. Sorry, we have a boat running across our anchor.
Okay. I'm
Um,
not hearing anything.
There it is.
so I've heard it said, and we're definitely experiencing it, that on a boat you make plans, but they all have to be flexible. There's so many
Okay.
factors. So,
Well, it's interesting because I know you both pretty well. And so you're both very like level-headed and like things scheduled and organized. And then you also like to live completely out of the box and, take on some whimsical ideas, take some chances. And, it's really cool to watch this whole process with y'all. But is that a struggle sometimes, like that balance of taking the chance? Because some people will listen and be like, "Oh, well, easy for you," but it's not always easy, right?
Yeah, so I think it is easier for Shane. Um, I think he's always kind of, I mean, he was raised very, I'm gonna say feral, and I don't mean that in a negative way,
that's fair.
but very carefree, do what you want on your own
Yeah.
schedule. I've been much more structured in my life, the 9 to 5, but I think we had kind of worked ourselves into, we both ran businesses. He was an arborist and I had a publishing company. And so it was just 9 to 5 working and trying to keep up with things, and it was exhausting. And I think we're both just so upstream, just let's
Yeah.
fight the current. So we want to do something different. We definitely don't want to fall back into the mundane.
Yeah.
And we rebel against that so hard. And this was just, I don't know, kind of perfect.
I think at the end of the day, you have to go with your heart, and you can either live life with that gnawing in the back of your mind of I'm
Mhm.
unhappy with what I'm doing and deal with that tension and that stress and do things how everybody else is doing them if you're wanting to do something opposed to that. Or
Yeah.
you can live life the way you want and deal with the stresses and the consequences and the complications that are going to come with that. Because it doesn't matter what you're doing in life, life has complications. Nothing's ever going to be easy.
Hmm.
So, yes, there's definitely been some adjustments and some stresses and some things to deal with, but I would much rather deal with that and live life the way I want to live it than ignoring that voice inside that says I'm not happy where I'm at.
And I'll
I get
say
that.
I'll say the biggest struggle in that is having two teenage daughters that are on this adventure with us because, we want them to have normalcy, but also adventure. And so we're, finding that balance of, well, right now, if it were just the two of us, we would probably be in the Bahamas somewhere. But we want to bring in some of normal day-to-day life for our girls' sake. But kind of trying to balance that with we want them to have those experiences that they're going to remember forever.
Yeah, you've basically like picked up your home and just put it on water. So, you're still having the traditional family. It's not like you guys just took off and did your own thing. That's one of the most interesting things about this, and curious, I guess, if we're going to say that, is that you clipped off a part of your life and picked up another lifestyle. And I've seen you guys do that a few times. And but then there's that current of, still family, still close knit, still wanting that, as you say, normalcy, which I think is just sort of grounding in a way for everybody, and because what's normal, but you do still
Right.
have some traditional things at play there.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
It would be
Um,
uh it would be inconsiderate of us to just do it 100% the way we want and not factor our kids into it. So they
yeah.
definitely get factored in. They're living this life with us too. So
Okay, and considering all that, so what does a typical day look like for each of you? What are you doing together? What are you doing separate? Like, walk us through a day on the boat.
Okay. Well, it does look very different between the two of us. So my morning is wake up and wait for coffee because he makes the coffee. Um,
Cheers.
yeah. Once I have my coffee, I kind of move into boat chores, which look pretty much the same as house chores. I make breakfast, clean up the kitchen, get the girls up and rolling. But then if we're going to be underway for the day, there's some things that have to be done. You've got to make sure some things are secure. So our boat doesn't move a whole lot. But if a big boat comes by you quickly, they're going to throw some waves. So, there's latching doors. There's doors that latch open or closed, so they stay that way. There's certain things I know we need to lower our TV. I like to put my lamp on the floor. It's never fallen, but I just do it anyway. So there's some little things.
Mhm.
But other than that, I would say for me, the most, I don't know, unnatural or out of the norm that I do are, working with ropes and helping with the anchor and things like that. And then he's teaching me to drive a little bit, so that's been kind of cool. But that's my day looks like. His is vastly different.
yeah, I get up and make coffee. Um, and then just kind of start checking on the boat. And it's different depending on where we're at. So like this morning, I got up and while coffee was making, I went and checked the anchor, made sure we're still in the same location. I have an app on my phone that uses GPS, so if our anchor drags and we move, it alerts me so I could get up and do something about it. But it just depends on what we're doing for the day, on what my day looks like. But if we're traveling, it's it's get up, get the engines running after we kind of did our morning routine, check everything, check oil, all that stuff, make sure the boat's secure, and then use our various different chart plotters and stuff, which is like a GPS for the water. Figure out where we're going, how long it's going to take to get there, what the weather looks like, all that kind of stuff. And then I sit my butt in that chair over there
Mhm.
and turn on the autopilot and stare at the scenery.
So, okay, maybe this is just me being a worrier, but like I've had problems with apps, I've had problems with Signal. Is this like what if this app fails? What if it fails you? Like what is the if you're just on your own, what would you do? I mean, I
There's
can't
a lot
imagine.
there's a lot of redundancy. So like we have a chart plotter on the boat that has maps loaded on it, and I use it, and it also tells me various other things, radar, water depth, temperature, all kind of stuff. And then I have an app running on my tablet that
Okay.
does a lot of the same things, and then I check it on my phone as well. So there's three different options there for navigation in case something happens to one of them. Things
Okay.
like that.
Yeah, because that kind of scares me. Like I had my alarm just not go off this week, and I never did even figure out what the problem was. It was showing that it was on, and that's such a small thing. And I was just like, oh well, the day's all messed up now.
Might
And
as well go
so
back to bed.
might as well go back to bed. Yeah, just thinking about relying on something because my guy drives a truck, and so he's old school though. If it comes to it, he can pull out a map and figure it out. And I'm like at water. I mean, I just don't know. I probably sound dumb about it, but like I literally don't know what you would do.
Kind of the same thing. We have an actual paper chart too. So if it failed, all the electronics failed, we could pull out the paper chart and navigate from it.
Okay. Well, you'll be glad I'm not on that boat with you because I would probably panic. Like I think I would panic.
That's another thing. That's where our day kind of comes back together at the end of the day
Yeah.
too, is we sit down at night and look at those charts and everything and plan what our next day is going to look like, how far we're going, what route we're taking, things like that. But then it becomes very different when we do like the Gulf crossing because you're out of sight of land. It's 150 miles straight across and deep water. You're looking at like 2,000 feet of water.
Uh,
So we actually met some people at the last marina we were at that are making the same crossing, and we're waiting on them. We're going to buddy boat across. That way, there's some extra redundancy there. If you have engine issues or anything, there's another boat there to help tow you or whatever the case is.
oh my gosh. I hope you guys are taking some pictures because we've shared before when we went on separate vacations, like some pictures and just some neat things we've seen. And I hope you guys can collect those and we can share those later on because this is like a huge adventure in my opinion. And I've watched you both do several different, businesses. You do a lot of things together. And I'm just thinking it's really I think that's kind of a make or break a relationship probably is how well do you work together? And I see it seems like you guys work really well together. I think that's very cool. Cool experience.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
So
it's been amazing. It's really nice having someone that knows all the answers, something will be off a little bit and he's like, "Oh, we just need to da 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 da." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, we're gonna make it. We're okay."
I will
yeah,
say that when it comes to owning a boat, you either need a lot of experience working on things or a whole lot of money.
Hmm.
I ate a
yeah.
lot of money.
Yeah. I would say traditionally, like way back, couples did work together. They had to pull together to do the hard work or to do, I'm thinking way back to like farms and such. And it's just cool to see that you guys have done this. And I'm thinking that that probably creates a closeness and just like a different experience to be counting on each other for the things. Karli, you've told me some terms you've learned, and I'm wondering if you like, do you have to? Is this like you've got a whole new vocabulary for the water?
Yeah, it's all different. The first time that we docked the boat, there was a gentleman that came out to help. They have people just help, whether they're
Yeah.
employed by the marina or not. It's strange. People in the boat world are so friendly and so helpful. But a gentleman came out and he's telling me, go midship on starboard side and throw me a rope. And I'm like, I don't even
Speak
know what
What?
you're
speak English.
Yeah.
you want me to do what? I'm throwing a whole rope out there that's not attached to anything going here. You said you wanted a rope. I didn't understand what he was asking for. But I've learned so much and Shane's been really, really patient. We've got headphones so that if I'm out on the boat and he's up in the wheelhouse driving, we can communicate, and he's so good about saying, okay, I want you to take that rope and do it this way, and then you're going to go over here. And, so that's been very helpful, as having a patient teacher. But yeah, I've had to learn a lot of terminology that I never would have imagined would ever be coming out of my mouth.
You said something about steps in the water or something the other day. What is it you said?
The locks. That
Oh,
is
oh
probably
yeah.
the coolest thing, and I'm going to let Shane explain that because
Okay.
I don't know. I just know it.
So it's water. You can't go uphill in water. Water sits level. So like when we went from the East Coast to the West Coast, and you go through the center of Florida, as you're approaching Lake Okeechobee from the east side, there is two locks you go through, two or three. And what they do is it's a chamber you go into. So if the door is open on your side, then the water level is obviously at the same water level you're at. And if you're going toward Lake Okeechobee, then you're going up in
Okay.
elevation. If you're going away from Lake Okeechobee, you're going down in elevation. So you go into this chamber and you tie up along the side. Only you can't tie your lines because the boat's gonna be moving up and down. So you kind of just loop it and you have to stand there and watch your rope and adjust it as things happen. But they'll close this big door behind you, and then you're inside this box. And then they'll slowly open a door in front of you and let the water rise till it balances to the level of the water on the other side. So like the first one we did was like we went up 14 feet.
What?
So it picked us up 14 feet, and then once the water balances out, they open the door on the other side completely up, and you untie, start your engines, and drive out.
Okay, I never would have considered that. Like Carly was telling me, and I'm just like, yeah, I totally know what you're talking about.
Yeah, we have
Yeah.
to go through like I think 52 of those on our whole trip.
52.
Yeah, a
Really? I
lot.
was thinking like two or three.
Yep, no, like we've already been through six, I think.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, you gotta think like the elevation of Florida versus the elevation of Chattanooga.
okay. All right. Well, yeah, I could see that, but that's definitely something that I've never thought about. Uh, so what's the coolest experience so far? You guys have a lot of time ahead of you though. So we'll have to hear more.
We do. I think, gosh, the coolest. For me, it would have to be the dolphin. That's just, I'm amazed. I've gone on vacation every year. You go to the beach a couple of times in the summer, and you see dolphin off in the distance, and you're like, is that a shark? Oh, it's a dolphin, But they're right up to the side of our boat. They like the boat. They like the wake that it makes, I guess, or but they're just massive animals and so fun to watch. So for me, it's definitely the wildlife in general, but I don't know, dolphin are just amazing creatures. Like I don't think I'll ever get used to it.
You want to just hug them?
I,
Yeah.
I
Hug them.
do. I want to.
Yeah. Apparently they want nothing to do with you. I talked to our diver that cleaned the bottom of our boat for us, and he said that for 2 years now, they're all around him. He said for 2 years he's been trying to swim with them. He's like, you swim in their direction, they just swim away. They want nothing to do with you.
My son said they'll play with you till you die. They like to play. I guess that's if you're lucky they play with you, but it has a bad ending. I don't know. He's like, they're the scariest. They're really the most dangerous because they just want
Yeah.
to play and have fun.
Yeah.
Yep.
I,
They're massive.
I think for me it's just the overall experience. Like I just realized yesterday as we came into the Gulf, we're right here by the Gulf. That's the first time in my life that I've ever been from the Atlantic Ocean to the Gulf of Mexico in the same week. So
Wow. Okay.
just
Has anybody braved the water?
I have to, unfortunately.
Ah, how cold is that?
I don't know. It's my chart plotter says it's like 38 degrees.
I'll get it in October. Like we always go in October for our last trip, and that's probably gonna be it for me. But I have to do it, like even if it's freezing, but that's October freezing, so it's not the same.
That's another one of the things about owning a boat. I've got to throw on a wetsuit today and jump in the water just to check everything and make sure everything underneath the boat is good. Nothing to worry about. Everything's functioning fine. It's just a peace of mind thing. But to
Yeah.
do that, I've got to put on a wetsuit and get in 38-degree water. I won't be there very long.
Yeah. I wouldn't think so.
That's not something we'll be doing together.
Yeah. I want pictures if you do.
All right. Okay, well, Mandy, we have been talking so much about, us playing in the water. What have you been up to?
Well, winter is not my time of year, but I am trying to make the best of it. And so I have just like been doing all the inside work. I had a little short time playing with the collector. I have the collector as a side project. Anybody can see that on Facebook. But one aspect of that what is a curiosity shop, and I did that for a bit. Inside a store. Got a taste of that in person, and I've decided to expand. So I've been working on that online store. It's like an online shop in hopes to actually have my own store and not just be in someone's store. So I'm doing all the things while you're away and I'm stuck inside that to plan to make this thing happen. So I'm out today, later today, making some purchases, and I've been looking for all the weird and curious items. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm doing.
I love it because I love those weird and curious items. I loved it when you had the auction. I've got some of those
Yeah.
items and they are like my prized pieces. I love them. So I'm all about
I know you do, and I knew you'd be excited to. I'm going to come back with the interviews, and took a break from that for a while, and then I just can't get away from this whole collector thing. It's kind of my thing,
yeah.
and so I have a vision, I have a goal. I hate the whole 5-year plan thing, but maybe it's a 1-year plan. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't like when people say, "What's your 5-year?" I have no idea. Tell me about next week.
Right.
But I'll
Yeah.
I'll be getting some cool things to share with you because I know you like that. And today I'm picking up some paintings that have human hair on the painting,
Yeah.
so they're vintage too. So we're gonna see.
I cannot wait to see those.
I
Oh,
can't either. I'm
I'm always
excited.
excited when you say you're going shopping.
I know. I know. I'll bring those back so I can show and tell with you.
Awesome. Okay, well, it's been really great catching up. I'm glad we're back. I
You
just
too.
am super excited about what we've got coming up. So, yeah.
Yeah, 2025. It's gonna be like that. Just feels good to me. 25. That sounds right.
Yes,
I'm going with that anyway.
I like it. Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
Okay, so next week, we have a special guest.
Yep. We do.
Very,
Yep. Connie Hall Scott.
yeah, very excited about that. Well, we
I
love
am too.
Connie. She
Yeah.
always just has some very interesting information to share, always into something curious. So I'm excited to have her on. We're actually going to be talking about the Menendez brothers.
Yeah. Yep. That's
Yeah.
it's a big deal. It's been a big deal for a bit too.
Yeah. Yes, it
Yeah.
has. I bet they're ready to wrap that up.
Right.
Well, if you love our podcast, be sure to subscribe, but don't just subscribe, share it with a friend.
Yep.
And if you have something curious you'd like to share, we want to hear about it. If you've got an idea for an upcoming episode, reach out. You can send us an email at ourcuriouspodcast@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you.
Yep.